to assume that our audio feed is good there.
I love how there's a stroller in the background, by the way.
We'll talk about that. Yeah. So, is it my stroller? Is it her stroller? It's not our stroller. Spoiler alert, okay?
No.
All right. So we're going to wait just another couple seconds, let some people jump on. And what we're doing today is recording an episode of the Paul Duane Show, my podcast. That is up and running and back in action. Very happy about that. The episode I just put out yesterday was with Willie Marshall. Do you know who he is?
No.
He was Utah's first openly gay mayor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know my history, I guess, about Salt Lake. That's awesome.
Well, he was in a little town in southern Utah.
Oh, okay.
But he's this openly gay, super libertarian, gun-toting, classic car driving guy. And he's so libertarian that he feels like an employer should have the right to fire him because he's gay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he takes private property ownership that seriously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He drives around with these bumper stickers on his car. He'll have like the gay rainbow flag, the gay pride flag, and then a Confederate flag next to it.
Well, that's not controversial. What is the LGBTQ? Are there any more letters after that? I think it's LGBTQ.
I think there's a plus.
There might be. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm safe with what does the LGBTQ community think about that?
I don't think he's ever asked because he certainly doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He just doesn't care. Yeah. Anyway, that show was super fun. If you haven't heard that one, check it out.
I don't have any Confederate flags, by the way. Sorry to disappoint. I'm all about the rainbow, though.
All about the rainbow. All right. Well, Nineveh, let's pull this stroller in. Tell me about this. What's going on here?
Okay, then can I stand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, surprise!
Look at that.
Yep, I am pregnant.
A mini Nineveh.
A mini Nineveh.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm having a girl, my first. I'm turning 30. So this is very unconventional for Utah, right?
Yeah.
To be a first-time mom at the age of 37. I'm due at the end of February.
37.
I'm going to be 37,
Stop
yes.
it.
I'm serious.
No, keep doing what you're doing.
It's all the Botox. No, actually, I don't have any Botox. None. But I've been thinking about it because as you age, you're like, oh, maybe there's a couple lines here. Yeah. Anyway, did you know that Salt Lake is the vainest city?
Most plastic surgeons per capita.
Per capita, but still. So the women here really care about what they look like.
They do.
Yeah.
Are they doing it? Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay. So are they doing it for each other or for the guys? Like, who's the real audience?
Well, I hope you're doing it for yourself. I can tell you that everything that I do in terms of makeup, hair, yes, my husband is an attractive man. He would like to have his wife be attractive as well. I think that's really important in a marriage or in any kind of courtship.
Yeah.
But I've been like this before him. So I've always taken care of myself. So maybe it's a personality thing, right? Where I enjoy looking good, whatever that means to me. So if looking good means plumping up your lips to you or putting Botox in your face or microblading your eyebrows, then go for it. No judgment here. If looking good to you means yoga pants and no makeup, then celebrate that too.
Right.
So, but I don't know who are they doing it for. I think there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I follow this guy on Instagram. You've got to follow him. He's called Lips by Reagan.
Okay.
And I'm sort of obsessed with these Insta stories, which just, are totally releasing that dopamine, right, in your brain. And I just watch this guy plumping women's lips across Utah. And I'm like, wow. I don't need to do that with my lips. But, man, if you watch it enough, you start to think, do I have small lips? Do they need to be bigger?
I think I saw one of his patients on Instagram the other day.
Okay.
They were huge. Like ridiculously huge.
Yeah. Hey, we were talking about Joe Rogan earlier and his podcast, right?
Yeah.
So he had another guest on the show, and they were actually talking about the topic of lip injections. And they got pretty graphic and, how he is, right? And my husband had me listening to this, and I'm like, what is this? They're talking about women who are injecting their lips and what that feels like down there. I'll turn this off. This is very degrading. But that was a topic on a show, and I guess the point...
That's a whole other angle.
That's a whole other angle. The point is that, I mean, there's all types of things that you can inject, but
Right.
they feel bumpy inside. And can any women who've had lip injections confirm this for us? So I'm wondering, does it, change the kissing experience? They just said it felt really freaking weird when they kissed them or anything else was going on.
I bet that'd be strange.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only thing
to
that
me
would...
that does not sound appealing.
Okay.
And I've tried some weird shit. But no. I'm pretty old fashioned.
You are. No lip injections for you.
No.
Men are doing it now. Men are doing it. They're doing it's called Brotox. I don't even know how we got on this topic, by the way.
It's fine.
What are we talking about?
Well, we're headed there. Believe me, we're headed there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the scenic drive to it, though. It's delightful. Yeah, keep going. Brotox.
Brotox is a thing, and men and their lip injections. And I mean, we're just, evolving into something interesting as a society. And I think social media and being exposed to all of this, right? And we would talk about some of the movements that we're seeing in the beauty industry with, plus size models and, just inviting more diversity into that space, which is very much needed. But on the other end of things, people talk about, like the beauty industry degrades women, but we just can't seem to get enough of it. So even though
why is that?
I think we're fascinated by, the way we look and beautiful people, and that will always exist.
Where do you think that comes from?
It's got to be biological. It has to be, right?
Feels like it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's like when you're looking to mate, right? What are you looking for? I mean, I can tell you as a woman, it's like when I'm looking at men, and I'm married now, but I literally married a guy that I think when I analyze what he looks like, I'm like, this dude could totally kick ass in the jungle. He could sweep me over his shoulder and fight off dinosaurs. I'm kidding. Bears, whatever it may be.
But really,
he's like a physical specimen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen John Madsen, but he played in the NFL, and so that was attractive. It had to be something innate, right, that attracted me to that made me feel safe, and he's the top of the food chain. Genetically, this is someone who I should mate with.
Right.
Now, he has a lot of other, good qualities about him, too. But
those genes.
Those genes are good. He was an athlete. I want an athletic child, but
yeah,
this sounds terrible. But I talk to a lot of my girlfriends who are single, and they're like, maybe I shouldn't be so hung up on the look thing. I'll just settle for... No, don't settle. Whatever feels hot to you, right? And obviously John feels very hot to me. I think he's universally hot, but... universally hot, that's another thing to talk about, right? What's universally attractive versus not. But you should be attracted to the guy that you let put a ring on it.
Right.
I mean, he's got to be hot 30 years from now. So those abs are going to matter. Just kidding. And all the other qualities. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There are men that have hot bodies that are not douches, by the way. They exist. They're real.
And same thing, men often come up with the same dilemma. They feel like they have to choose. Is she either going to be hot or smart and fun and, all the internal characteristics?
Why can't you have the chupacabra?
They exist.
They do.
They do. They're out there. Yeah.
So...
But you have to believe first.
Right.
You do. You have to believe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you see you don't see my vision boards here on camera, but I'm very much about visualizing and putting on...
We could show them, the vision boards. Do you guys want to see the vision boards? Yeah. I don't know how many people are watching.
Well, doesn't matter. This will repost. I'll repost this for you, too. So well, you could just pick them up and show them if you want. You don't have to move that.
Nice.
Anyway, back to the
Back to it.
board. board.
Okay, yeah, so tell me more about the vision board. Then I want to get back into talking about attractiveness. I have some questions for you about that.
Okay, so one of the things on the vision board is, okay, I'm not trying to make it to Hollywood. I'm trying to make it to Forbes. Another one is I attract money easily. There's a photo of Oprah on there because I want to meet her. And another post that says self-made. I am fearlessly me, and that is my superpower. And other things about wanting to write a book, which I'm in the middle of. How I got a book deal. So just things that I'm pretending all these things have already happened. I do have a picture of Mercedes on there, which I do not have. And
Yet.
then rich is not a goal. 5 million in 3 years is.
Nice.
And that's where my head's at.
Nice.
Which is a huge difference from like where I was headed career-wise.
Right.
It's very hard to do in like a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
So you have to be entrepreneurial.
I want to get into that a little bit. You were talking, so one of the reasons I was so interested to talk to you is, you run Her magazine. And tell us a little bit about the mission of the magazine.
So our tagline is Unmake Tradition.
Okay.
Okay, and in a nutshell, we are a digital publication and monthly, and when we release weekly content online as well. I'm really passionate about storytelling just because of my
Who's your
background.
audience?
Female entrepreneurs or women who are wanting to get into business, women who are part of the gig economy, and what the gig economy means, like maybe you're a freelance writer, but you work for yourself in some way. I think for women, it's really important to take a look at the entrepreneurial space because right now, corporate America has not caught up to our needs. Corporate America was designed with men in mind in terms of the workforce. And I'm not like here going, it's so unfair, but I'm just telling you facts. So when you look at work-life balance, if there is such a thing, becoming a mother, worrying about maternity leave, how are you going to balance that? How can you be there for your children and still have a career and fulfill that part of yourself? And I feel like being an entrepreneur, really you're making up your own rules. It's really hard, don't get me wrong. It's really tough to be an entrepreneur. But, here I am in my home office. I can have a stroller in it. My boss is not going to walk in and say, why is there a stroller in your office? Because that's really the typical environment when it comes to corporate, right? But there's a lot more responsibility that comes along with being a business owner. But I would just encourage women to take a look at that. So Her magazine celebrates the entrepreneurial women, the career-oriented woman too. So nothing wrong with having a 9-to-5. I think if we can all think like business owners, it would really help us as women too, even in our careers and excelling in our careers. But I would encourage more women to not only own businesses, but try to get into the C-suite, become executives, just really making waves and really climbing that career ladder.
So I was in a conversation with somebody the other day that works for a big multinational company. She's in management, and she said something that I haven't been able to get out of my head, and it's one of my reasons for having this conversation with you today. She said, I like to be girly, I like to dress cute, I like to dress sexy and sensual sometimes, and by that, honestly, her version of that is pretty conservative, but she still wants to feel good in her skin. But she said, but I have earned my position at work. I've worked my way there. I deserve my success, and I want people to take me seriously. I don't want people thinking I slept my way to the top. And yet she feels really confined by this mostly male environment that she works in. And, it was, as I listened to her talk about that, my heart really went out to her. I had nothing to tell her. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I've done the arithmetic. I understand why it's that way, and how she's navigated her way through that work situation. But I just thought, man, there's an unmet need in that conversation, and I don't know what to say. But I do know people who do, and you're one of them. Yeah. So what would you want? And I know other women feel that way too. Yeah, I've heard that repeated a lot. Breaks my heart a little bit. What do you have to say to these ladies? What do you want them to know about showing up?
I understand how they feel. I mean, showing up and being authentically you and still being taken seriously. So what does that mean to you? But I think that there's something to be said that when we are trying to propel ourselves in a career, there are certain rules that we have to go by, right? Unfortunately, whether it's unfortunately or not, right? And that's what I found working in television news as well, is there's certain guidelines in terms of how you need to look, how you need to act, and when you get to a certain stage in your career, now I can start to bend the rules a little bit and truly be myself, right? And I wish that we could do that from the very beginning, but unfortunately that's just not how our society is built structurally. I mean, men, if you think about it, you know, do they have more leeway? Maybe could they show up to work with blue hair and still be taken seriously? What if a woman did that? I mean, it's just like a tiny example, right? Or when it comes to femininity, I think a lot of women feel like they have to masculinize themselves in order to compete in the workplace.
Right.
And unfortunately, then when we do masculinize ourselves, we are called things like bossy, bitchy, diva. By the way, these are labels that I was called during my career.
Sure.
So being really strong and having some of those masculine features, and I don't know why they have to be masculine, why they can't belong to both, you know? But just being really assertive and things like that. Men are celebrated for having those qualities. Women are, you know, put down for having those qualities. And so where's that balance? How can we still bring the strengths of our femininity? Because I think there's something to be said about being and embracing our feminine side, but still being strong in a way that isn't going to be off-putting. What a difficult thing to, like, have to dance around.
Right.
You don't have to think about that.
No.
But I take it as a challenge. You know, it's a fun and exciting time to be a woman, I think, right now. Right?
Certainly.
With the Time's Up and Me Too movement happening and everything that we're seeing around us, it's really our chance to kind of rewrite the rules as to what a woman's new role is. But at the same time, we can't dismiss how there's also always going to be women who don't want to have careers or don't want to have this other side. They want to be moms and they want to stay at home, and that should be okay too. We have to accept all of us in the way we want to be. But I think women are trying to just, you know, men and women are different. Doesn't mean we're not equal, but we are different. We need to recognize that. We're different in the way we communicate to each other and female to female. And it's kind of figuring out those differences and how we can, you know, use them to our advantage. But women have to just get comfortable in their own skin. And I don't think it's something that typically happens early in your life. I think it takes evolving and progressing as a person. So it's just a journey. You know, it's not something that can be rushed into. Who I am today is not who I was even 3 years ago or the Nineveh that was on the news. I wish that I could have evolved into this person while working in television, because I think I would have gotten a lot further in my career.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of gratitude for the career that I had here in Salt Lake and Arizona. And who knows, you know, what the future holds. I'm very fascinated by digital media. But it's just a journey, and I would encourage women to just, you know, think outside the box. And if they feel confined, like some of these women that are talking to you, if they're feeling confined, I think that is a warning sign or an alert that something needs to change. Because that's how I felt in news. I felt confined.
Right.
And it's suffocating.
So what specific advice do you have for that woman that's listening to this and saying, yeah, that's me. You know, I the power structure at work has a lot of men in it. Even if it's not numerically dominated, there's still at least going to be half of them there. And you still have to deal with the male-female dynamic. And what would you want these women to know that are wanting to show up in their skin and still like have a great career at their company? You know, like she doesn't want to leave the company because it has wonderful opportunities, you know, and her career could grow and grow and grow. So, you know, she doesn't really want to just eject out of there. And
Right. I mean, I would say this, men are not the enemy, so let's not treat them as such. I know that we're, you know, watching a lot of mainstream media reports, and there are certainly powerful men in companies and in Hollywood and in politics that are just horrible people. That's what we're going to call them. Because there are bad women out there too. You know, I worked for a female boss who I wish was more empowering to me. I was very excited to have a female boss, but it doesn't mean that women have it figured out too, by the way. So just because you have I think if you had an all-female, can I get that?
Yeah, of course.
I'm expecting a package, okay? And it's makeup. I have to sign for it.
All right, go get that. All right.
Sorry, hold on.
One of the joys of working at home,
Yes.
shooting out of the home office. Hey.
I'll just be a second.
Yeah, no worries. I'm going to scroll through here and say hi to some of our Galen. How you doing? Let's see, Rebecca. Oh my gosh, we've got questions.
Okay.
We got questions that are coming in, and we'll do some Q&A at some point. Yeah, we'll do some Q&A. You got your makeup?
I did. I had to sign for it.
Yes, it must be good stuff.
Came from Dubai, so
Ooh.
we'll see.
All right. So in a few minutes, I'll pull up my laptop and we'll do some Q&A.
Okay,
Be able
cool.
to read off there. But in the
Awesome.
meantime, so let's get back. Let's reframe that question. Let's reset
So
that.
men are not the enemy is what I was getting at, and that women don't have it figured out either. And so, maybe in like utopia, you think, oh, if only women ran the world. I mean, we already do run the world. Okay.
Right.
We really do.
You do.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, can we just realize
Yeah.
our power already, please?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about all the married couples out there. So you have to think of it from this way. So who's the decision maker in a marriage?
It is almost always the woman.
Okay. So do we not think that women are influencing some of these male politicians? I mean, who do you think they talk to at night? Women. So at the end of the day, women do rule the world in many ways.
Many ways. I
Right.
mean, and at a more even basic level, you raise the babies.
Right,
You know,
right.
you nurture the babies. You shape them. You shape the men.
Yeah.
You know.
So when I say men are not the enemy, meaning I think that men are really going to are open and receptive to these conversations. They just don't know. So it's on us too, to educate them, to tell them how we feel, to make suggestions in the corporate environment. Here's what I need to thrive. Now, that doesn't mean that things are going to change overnight though, because these are some of the things that I brought up during my career. Hey, I'm evolving as a person. I'm no longer this. I would like this opportunity now. And sometimes it's just not going to work out. It's not a fit. And we can't control everything. I mean, it'd be great to have better maternity leave policy and better health care and all of those things. But do what you can control, right? Take responsibility for what you can take responsibility for. But I think that, especially right now during this time where these conversations are happening and powerful men are being, burned at the stake, right, for the things that they've done to women, this is the time to have those conversations and to create change within your own company. And I would say, don't be solo in it, hook up with a couple of other women in that workplace and start to talk about these ideas. And be constructive about the ideas, so don't come to the table criticizing or attacking, it's not like this. It's not. Chances are it's like not on purpose, just because we aren't being vocal. Mm-hmm. So use your voice, and be effective about how you want to create that change.
Maybe go into the conversation assuming that you're going to be heard, assuming that they're going to be responsive and that they mean well.
Exactly. Go in with that intention, and if they're assholes, then just say fuck you.
That seems I think that's good advice for dealing with everything, all people in life, really.
Right.
Like, assume they're going to be awesome, and if on the rare chance they're not,
Yeah, stick that middle finger.
Yeah. So let me ask you another question then. On the other side of this, as I hear women talk about their troubles in navigating the professional space, and I want to get more clear about this. Men and women have a natural polarity and oftentimes an attraction, which can become problematic, and ostensibly it's the men or the bad acting men that create a lot of these problems, the sexual harassment, the tension, the things like that. And so when I hear these stories, my first thought is, fellas, like, this is on us. Like, we can do a much, much better job. Mm-hmm. But I want to hear you talk to the guys for a minute. Like, what do you want the men to know about creating space for women, because the reality is, like, we want the women to show up looking in their full expression of their femininity.
Can you handle yourself?
Yeah, I can. But, a lot of guys struggle with that. But the reality is we want women to be able to show up in the world feeling completely comfortable in their skin and all that. But a lot of times we struggle to actually implement that, And so speaking to that, what do you want men to know?
Well, I would just go back to, I have these conversations with my husband, who's a business owner. He owns a gym. He has a set of trainers who are all male, but we train women and athletes as well. So we have young athletic women that are obviously training in our facility as well. And we talk about these things like sexual harassment and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And, my husband's a great guy, so he's got a, really good gauge of what's appropriate and what's not appropriate in terms of how you talk to women, what you say to them, and what that workplace environment is like. And he's had those conversations with his trainers who are much younger than him that maybe don't understand, hey, if you ever get a text message from a young female athlete, you were to notify me immediately. You do not respond, and it's like having men that understand that, because you could be well-intentioned as a person and start a conversation and it could go in the wrong direction very quickly, right? So you have to be really conscientious about these things. And I think he's got a pretty good pulse on it because of me, because I just talk so much about women's issues, and he just innately knows like what's right from wrong. And you would hope that most men would know what's right from wrong in terms of boundaries and respect, right? And it's all about who you're raised by too, right?
Very much.
So good mentorship, good parenting. What was the father like in the home? How did he treat his mother? Like, clearly my husband was raised in a really great household, but there are a lot of men who aren't, so we have to understand some of the challenges that men are coming to the table with. We have to be a little more compassionate about some of these things. I'm not saying being forgiving and accepting like sexual harassment by any means.
Certainly.
But understanding that like people are who they are because of their past, their background. We don't know what kind of baggage they're bringing to the table. We don't know what kind of parents they were raised by. Like, why are men behaving badly in this way? That's really what we have to look at. So in the same perspective, and I don't know if I'm answering your question, female empowerment is important, but so is male empowerment. And there's a really great book out by Lewis Howes. I got a chance to meet him at a conference. He's got one of like the #1 podcasts in the world. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he just wrote a book called The Mask of Masculinity. And it's about the masks that men wear. And he talks about why we're seeing more violence in society, why we're seeing an uptick in things like, rape culture and sexual harassment and these things. And talks about how men are raised to be like aggressive, wear these masks that they're manly, and they're taught that crying is not okay, being vulnerable is not okay, talking about your feelings certainly isn't okay. I don't know what it would be like to have to bottle all that shit up inside. Because as women, it is totally acceptable to talk about our feelings. We have a community of people that we can turn to. Do men have that? And so maybe that's also the reason why we see some of the issues that we see around power and men, because they need their own movement too. I mean, they really do. But in terms of like the kind of conversation we can have, it's just coming at it from a constructive angle. Look, I've been sexually harassed at work, not in Salt Lake City. It was in Arizona. It was by my co-anchor. And I think the statistics say that 70% of women stay silent. I was one of the women that did not stay silent.
Yeah.
But I understand why women do stay silent. It's very scary to come forward.
What was that decision like to be vocal about that? What fears did you have to confront?
Well, here's the thing. I think some of the things that I had gone through earlier before my career, like for example, I was in a relationship long, long ago in my early 20s, physically and emotionally violent. And so I learned how to become strong enough to leave that situation, right? And so I had this newfound strength. So when I headed into my career many, many years later after this had happened, I knew what it was like to feel degraded fearful of a man, let's say. And when that started happening at work, the sexual harassment, at first I thought maybe it was my fault. Every woman thinks that. And in fact, there was a female mentor of mine she was the first person I called. I said, this is happening. I don't know what to make of it. Because when it first happens, it's not like someone just comes and grabs you. They start by becoming friendly, then a little flirty, and then they'll like maybe smack you on the butt, and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel right. That's weird. Was I too nice to him? Like, why is that happening? And that's so unfair because I'm nice to guys, men and women.
Right.
And I love the male-female dynamic. I mean, you could call it flirty, whatever, but I think it's fun to have conversation and banter and go back and forth, right? So I was just being myself, but you're like, am I inviting this by being too nice? Do I have to be like really rigid as a woman now? Did I do something wrong here? So first you feel like that.
And this is an interesting example of how when men misunderstand how to show up and they go across boundaries, we unwittingly teach women to contract and to be less engaging and
well, you would contract. I mean, because you're like, woo.
It all makes sense, but no one wins.
Yeah, no one wins. But look, men should know. Let's just get that clear right now. Just because a woman in the workplace is being nice to you and friendly to you and is building that rapport with you, that's what we're doing. We're building a rapport professionally, is not open the door for you to smack her on the butt. That's wrong. Period. End of story. And if you're misinterpreting something, that is really on you. You need to know, here's where you don't ever cross the line, right? As a man in the workplace. Right. Just get it through your head. Don't smack her on the butt. Don't grab her. Don't.
That should be so obvious.
It should be, but it's not. And so for me, I had called a female mentor of mine. She no longer my mentor. But this was in television news, and she works in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm not going to call her out, of course. But I sent her tape, and she's, I'm sorry to hear this is happening. This is not something that's new, and this was a woman who dresses very conservatively for this reason. So you retract, right? You masculinize yourself.
Yeah.
You make yourself unattractive because you fear that those are the things that are inviting that. So we're blaming ourselves. I don't think so. I should be able to wear a shirt that shows a little cleavage without you thinking that's an invitation to smack me on the butt.
Right.
I should be able to be feminine, whatever that means to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to wear a suit and a shirt buttoned up to my neck. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
For you, to protect you and help you out.
Right.
Handle yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she took a look at the tape, and I don't know why she wanted me to send her a tape of us anchoring together, but she said to me, well, no wonder he's doing that to you. Look at what you're wearing. And so that is the old school mentality, by the way. So there are women that absolutely still think that way.
Right.
But they're part of a past generation. That generation is going to go away. So these changes that we're talking about, they're generational. This is not happening in 5 years. It's not happening in 10 years.
So do we just have to wait it out? Or is there anything we can do to move this evolution of awareness forward more?
Yeah, we have to keep doing what we're doing. I think we're on the right track.
Just keep talking about it?
Yeah, but these new women that are being raised, okay? So the little girl I have in my belly, or the young athletic women that are training with my husband's team, for example, they're in high school. And he's like, it is so crazy. They are like sassy as can be.
Yeah.
I mean, these girls are empowered.
Cool.
They know what they want. They say what's on their mind. And he goes, and I remember one of the female athletes saying, I don't understand. How come he gets to take his shirt off while working out and I don't? I don't think that's fair. And he's like, that's legit how they think. Like that is, so that tells me something. That this next generation of women, they're on the right track.
Cool.
We're the ones that have issues.
We're behind.
We're a little behind.
That's encouraging.
That is encouraging, I think, to hear things like that.
Yeah.
Especially for young girls in Utah.
Certainly.
I think we're going to see a different type of women even in Utah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can I go down a more personal rabbit hole with you?
Sure.
And you can plead the fifth at any point.
Okay.
I'm just going to go.
Uh-oh.
So you mentioned being in an abusive relationship. And how difficult it was to hit that moment of decision to leave.
Yeah.
What were some of the mental dilemmas that you had? I just like to hear your process in leading up to making that decision to get out.
Yeah, I don't talk about my past very often because I like to live in the present and the future, but I think it's important. And
in the spirit of letting other women know.
Yeah, sure.
Because certainly people that are listening right now, some of them are in relationships like that, and they want to know how to handle themselves, how to get out.
Now, I remember for me, so I was raised in a strict Middle Eastern home and never dated any guys. And the first guy that I did meet when I was like 18 years old was this rebellious dude, right? And finally, I was getting attention from a guy. Like, no one ever gave me attention in high school. I was not the girl that was asked to prom. I was not the cheerleader. I wasn't any of those things. I was not cute. I was a total dork. So finally get attention from an attractive man. You know, he's much of a bad boy, too.
Right.
And my parents were going through a divorce at the time as well. And so I think all those circumstances is what led me into this very kind of dangerous relationship. And it first started off with, obsession. And I thought that was cute, right? And when you've never experienced relationships before, because you're raised in such a strict household, you are like, oh, this is normal, I think. You don't know. You don't have the experience. But it was emotionally violent, and physically, it got physically violent like years into the relationship. As I was becoming more empowered, the more violent he became, right? And the moment of decision making for me was, it took a long time. I was in that for like 3.5 years before I could break free. And it was scary, by the way. I'm talking like stalking injunction. Parents had to send me away for a month because the cops were like, this guy is gonna kill her. I would sleep with a knife next to my bed. It was some scary shit. Wow. So I remember that time, and I'm just trying to remember, like, where did the strength come from? Like, how was I finally able to break free? And I remember at that time, and I was with him, I had just graduated high school, and then I became an esthetician, and I was in this, abusive relationship. And I had then decided I wanted to go back to school and just, continue progressing. So the more I progressed within myself, the stronger I became. And that's what gave me the strength to leave, is like having that confidence. It's like, what am I doing with you? Like, I don't deserve this. Like, this is not my life. And, I was at a point to where now I was in college. I was still an esthetician, and I had decided that I was going to go into broadcast news. And I was like, I'm going somewhere in life, and you're not. And guess what? You're a loser. So I'm done. And it's amazing when you become that person, how that guy who was preying on you because you were weak, when you're no longer weak, he's scared of you now. Legit. Okay. So
what happened when he became afraid of you?
Well, I remember one time he came on campus. I was in school, and this was after like a number of events, and I'm like, I'm leaving you, and then he wouldn't let me leave. It was just, anyway, women know what I'm talking about when you're in these types of relationships. But I remember him coming, and he was totally uninvited to come, and I was eating lunch, and we're outside, and he shows up, and I just literally stand up, and I'm like, what do you want from me? I'm like, why don't you hit me in front of all these people? Come on, do it! And I was just like psychotic, and I didn't even know what people were thinking, but it's like I was standing up to him, and I was like, go ahead, come on, do it, like hit me, I dare you to. Because I'm going to hit you right back. And I took my food and I threw it at him. And I was like, come on. Like, I'm, do it. Why don't you come and hit me in front of everybody? And he started running. And I said, go. There you go. Just keep running, you freaking coward. Run, because I'm coming after you. And it was like, bitch, you better be scared of me now. That was the attitude. And
wow. That had to feel incredible.
Yeah, it was very empowering. Yeah. And believe me, I was in news. I was actually working in Salt Lake City, and he still was bothering me from time to time. Like, ooh, I have this on you. Or, look, these men are manipulative. They try to scare you. They use fear. And I was like, dude, you don't scare me anymore. Here's a stalking injunction, okay? Leave me alone.
Right.
And so, whatever, wish him well. Hopefully he's, not that person anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the strength came from empowering myself and bettering myself as a person. So if you're a woman in an abusive relationship and you're staying stagnant in life, you have to take a look at who are your friends, who are you surrounding yourself by. You have to completely transform yourself as a person and progress in a way to where these people that you're around could never be part of your new life. You have to become a new person. That's how you get out of that.
You grow
I was
out of it.
never, ever, ever, ever again in an abusive relationship after that. And I think that's what gave me the strength to be this like badass bitch that I am, because I'll tell you what, like men that are that type, the abusive type, the bad boys, I mean, they couldn't even look at me. Like I gave them a look like they were scared.
Yeah.
And so then I was really dating really feminine guys. Because I'm like, I never want a guy with muscles again. Like all those things represented danger and abuse to me.
So your pendulum swings.
Yes.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
I didn't expect us to take that turn, but I'm really intrigued now. So you get out of that, you grow personally, you personal develop your way out of that relationship.
Right.
And then the pendulum swings and you start dating guys that are the antithesis of what you just left.
Absolutely.
What was that experience like?
Crushed them, just walked all over them.
In
Poor
what way?
guys. I feel really bad for them. Stand up for yourself, damn.
Like in
That's
what
why
way?
I love my husband, because he is alpha,
Yeah.
but respectful, not scary, right? And that was a big leap for me, by the way. It gave me a lot of anxiety to date him because he was like big and powerful, and I'm like, oh, I'm big and powerful, so we had a lot of like rah.
Yeah.
But it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot from him. He's learned a lot from me, and a lot of that strength and kind of that fake strength almost, like where it's a front. And it's okay to have that, to protect yourself. But when you really want to experience true love, you can't come to the table with all those guards up. But when I was dating the like more feminine guys, right? What was that like?
And how did that set the stage for you to
Just
manifest
boring.
your
Anyway.
current husband, who is this like really great balance of masculine energies?
Right.
That's what I'm really curious about. How
Masculine energy is supposed to be, it's very protective and calming and loving and kind. It's not this, when people think of alpha, if I say I'm an alpha female, it's not I'm an alpha female, so I'm going to be like rude and, all these things. That makes me alpha. I'm strong, and you're, as a man, I walk all over you.
Right.
That's not the true essence of like being an alpha female.
Right.
Being an alpha female is like being confident and comfortable in who you are, being strong, but not like demeaning to the other sex to prove that you're this big badass woman. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
So for my husband, who's very much an alpha male, when I say that, and he had to learn that too. But yeah, it was interesting because very much what I imagined marrying someday, but I had to kind of peel back my own layers of, okay, just because somebody has muscles doesn't mean they're gonna hit you, right? Because I was like associating with my past, or just because someone's attractive doesn't mean that they're a bad boy, or I had to really like do a lot of inner work on myself to be able to realize that. And so I think you asked me what it was like to date feminine guys.
Well, I became less interested in that.
Oh, okay.
And now but what I'm really interested in is the inner work that you had to do to prepare to attract a really balanced masculine guy into your life that was the right fit for you.
Yeah.
Tell me about the inner work.
I think the inner work was dating a variety of men. I remember after I was done dating like feminine men, I was like, okay, done. Now I want to date a successful, strong man. So what I was finding is that dating this feminine guys. I was more successful in career. I was making more money. It was just like, he was the girl, I was the guy, and that's just not hot. And so I'm like, okay, I need to make a conscious decision of dating someone masculine, right? And then the next person that I dated was like looked that part and was that part and was successful and had like the nice things, and he was total asshole, by the way. And that didn't work. Like that guy was, to me, that's not masculinity, you know, that was just all ego, and he's a scared little child, right? But the inner work was, just kind of experiencing like what different things were out there. And then I literally wrote out in a notebook the kind of man that I wanted.
You did the list.
Well, it was more than a list.
Yeah?
It was more like an entire journal of like what I was envisioning for my life and the kind of man I wanted to attract into my life. And so it's the same thing like with these vision boards.
Right.
It's very powerful when you set that intention. You talk about the kind of man that you want to attract. And like, I want him to physically look like this, and I want him to emotionally be like this. And this is the kind of relationship that I want to have. And, you know, I'm ready for it, is like what I wrote. I'm ready for it, like, give it to me. 3 months later, it happens. I meet John. I'm not kidding you.
I believe you.
I wasn't, when I say I'm ready for it, when it hit me, I wasn't ready for it because I got a ton of like anxiety over dating him.
Yeah.
Almost. I was just like, it made me like scared, and it was just a crazy kind of time, but I knew he was the right person that was going to help me grow. So the inner work came from visualizing that I wanted this kind of man, writing it out, and then when he came, like accepting everything that came with it. Because he's the person that us being together is what has created this growth within me. The healing and all of it.
Really?
And I think he would say the same about himself.
So it's not like you were
I didn't go to
healing before you
counseling.
met him.
No, I'm still healing.
Okay, cool.
I still have issues.
I think, you know, I've often thought in the past, well, I have to be done before I meet the person I really want to be with.
You have to be on the track to becoming that person, right?
Just on the track.
Just on the track of progression.
Yeah.
Like, I'm committed to being this person. You're never going to meet the person that's perfect too. There's so many people out there like you thinking they have to be perfect before they meet the perfect person. It's about meeting the other person that's on that track too, and then you combining and like going through that journey together and growing together.
So what's that been like to merge paths with somebody that's also on the track?
Yeah, a roller coaster.
Yeah?
A fun journey. Yeah, I mean, my husband and I have been through a lot of challenges, like IVF, for example. We've gone through, 2 rounds of IVF. I had a surgery, and then we had a frozen embryo transfer. And I mean, anyone who's struggled with fertility will understand the hardships, that you face as a couple, emotionally, financially. That shit's expensive,
right.
Yeah. But that's all part of the growth. It's like meant to be there. I mean, you're given these challenges for a reason. Everything that comes in your path is, you have to not just say, why me? Because that's really like the victimhood mentality of why is this happening to me? And, oh, everybody's against me and the world's against me, right? It's, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I meant to do with this? There's a reason why this is happening. So, but the growth has been incredible. I would say, we got married almost 4 years ago, and we've been together for almost 7 years now. Oh my gosh, over 6 years. And it's just like been one of the most fulfilling experiences. I mean, there's definitely been times where I'm like, I want to, punch you, but I would never punch him. You're like, who is this person? But when you're angry, it's like, it's a mirror reflecting back at you. It's nothing to do with them. And it's recognizing self-awareness is like one of the most important attributes to have. There's so many people out there that are like in a hypnotic rhythm. They're just walking through life hypnotized, not thinking about the day and their daily motions, and they're not really thinking analytically about who they are and their behavior, and they're not understanding that everything that is happening in their life it's like cause and effect. It's physics, it's science when it comes down to it. Now, I'm not talking about things that happened in your childhood that you had no control over. I'm talking about when you become an adult, right? The things that are happening in our lives, like, is a direct reflection of our actions and our thoughts. You know, period, end of story. But yeah, it's been a great journey.
Well, the next chapter, it's going to be fun too. When's the little one coming?
End of February.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
That's so cool.
I'm excited, and I'm, you know, I'll say this, because I think the way motherhood is marketed to us is also, you know, doesn't do us any favors either as women. So we're taught to be like, pregnancy is just amazing, and being pregnant is the most beautiful, amazing thing, and it is. But, you know, we'd be liars as women if we don't start talking about the fears that we have. Like, oh my gosh, am I going to be a good mom? Like, how am I going to do this? I'm going to be able to handle it. How am I going to, you know, juggle work life? So many things go through your head.
Right.
I think women need to be honest about that stuff too. Yeah.
Love
So
it.
just because I'm turning 37 and I'm this evolved person does not mean that I'm not scared shitless about this new role. But I have confidence that I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to meet the new one.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. So before we wrap up, I just want to fire one more question off at you, and then I want to turn the time over to our audience, see if there's any Q&A that we need to get to in Facebook. So just, you know, to wrap things up, what's one thing that you want women to know that are having that struggle of, you know, knowing that there may be some sexual tension at work, you know, either in the corporate place or in the entrepreneurial space? I've seen it there too, you know, with investors and partners or whatever.
Sure.
You know, what do you want these women to know that where they're having to navigate, you know, trying to be a professional and trying to get things done with men that may be making that complicated?
Yeah, well, just don't even be around men like that.
Okay.
It's just not right. I know it's
But what if it's like a critical partner, a critical investor? Do you still walk? Like, how do you deal with that dilemma?
Well, of course you do, because good men exist. I mean, that partnership, what, you're going to deal with someone harassing you just to get the investment money, or there's many men out there who are not that way, that are willing to work with you. You know, so it's like saying, oh, just put up with it because that's the way it is. It's not the way it is. You don't need to put up with it. If it feels wrong, it is wrong. I've had many experiences, like I mentioned, in, you know, my early career, and then also working for powerful men in TV, and then even now in the entrepreneurial space, in the tech world. I do a lot of work in tech, and you know, it's still male dominated in many ways in terms of like the power structure, right? It's learning how to communicate effectively with these men, and also looking at yourself, is there anything that I could be doing to make this better? But I think when it comes to sexual harassment, I mean, it's pretty black and white.
So
you know what I mean? So
that definitely needs to be acted on. I'm really curious about that area before that, where there's no harassment that's happened, but there may be some tension, you know, or maybe it's just some weird dynamics, you know.
So what kind of so we're taking sexual harassment out of the picture, and it's just they're kind of assholes.
Kind of like, for instance, I
like, I'm a man, I have power over you, you're the woman, and so
we see this all the time. The male that comes along that wants to invest in your project, but he also wants a date.
He's not the right investor. Yeah. Plenty of men out there that will take you seriously as a woman that are not trying to, quote unquote, get with you.
And how do you find these men that are going to take you seriously as a person?
Take yourself seriously as a person, number one. Okay? So ask yourself, am I taking myself seriously?
And what does that mean?
I mean, how am I showing up to the world? How am I showing up, right?
Showing up in what way? What
I mean, from the way that we present ourselves, right? Understanding the rules of society. Am I showing up in a way that is going to make this man not take me as seriously in the way that I dress and look? Okay, we have to be a little bit conscientious about those things.
So on one hand, I hear you saying, you know, like you have that anchor mentor.
Sure.
Who's telling you like, well, look at the way you dress. Of course, no one
Well-
takes you seriously, and then I'm hearing you say,
I know.
and you have to be conscious of how you should dress.
Well, how are
Where's
you
that line?
showing? How are you showing up? Okay, so in the case of this anchor woman who was, you know, being critical of what I was wearing, it was a suit jacket and a V-neck top, and you could see maybe a little bit of cleavage. I'm like, okay, let's not be ridiculous.
Right.
But you have to ask yourself, what industry are you in? You have to understand the industry. You have to understand the people that you're showing up to. I'm not saying it's fair. That's not what I'm saying. But there are rules, right? And if you want to break those rules, pave your own way. But until then, we got to play by them just a little bit to get to where we want to go. So how are you showing up? Meaning not just in the way that you present yourself. And do you understand what I'm saying? It's not meant to be meaning, look, if you're a woman and you want to like, would you show up in a bikini to an investor meeting? That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
No, of course not. So how are you showing up? You know, I'm not saying you have to put your hair in a bun to be taken more seriously or wear glasses, which I know women have had to do actually. Mm-hmm. I've interviewed a lot of women for my magazine who have said, I wore glasses to be taken more seriously. Is she was conscientious about how she was showing up, and she was okay making that concession, right? So she could be taken more seriously until she got to a level where she's like, now the glasses come off, I'm in charge, bitches, right? Again, it's like interesting because it's not fair, it's not right, it's screwed up, you know. But until we evolve as humans to a place where we're no longer judging each other in that way, we have to know that we are being judged. And so, but not in just the way that you look. So when I say, how do you show up? What are you confident in what you're trying to sell? Mm-hmm. You know, people, things like, what is your voice tone like when you're talking to the investor? Do you take me seriously, Paul? Because I'm pretty sure that you do.
Certainly.
Right? Okay. Yeah. I've got a sense of fierceness about me.
Right.
I can be an attractive woman, trust me, but I know exactly how to be fierce enough, strong enough, and confident enough that you are never going to ask me out. Mm-hmm. You will not cross that line with me. And if you do, because you're idiotic enough, I will put you in your place so fast.
Right.
So that's what I mean about how are you showing up. You know, but that takes a degree of just confidence that has to be built. You almost have to go through those experiences.
It reminds me of your story of growing out of your abusive relationship where, you know, you got out of it by improving yourself and building up other parts of your life that weren't necessarily connected to the relationship. But as you grew as a person, your tolerance level and your belief in your ability to transcend it seemed to really come up.
Yeah. So I don't know if that answered the question. I mean, I think that's a tough one
it is,
to do.
But I appreciate your comments on that. I think a lot of people will benefit, if nothing else, knowing that they're not alone in their struggle and just hearing somebody else dissect it.
Yeah, embrace it though. Embrace the struggle. Trust me, because life is a journey. It's all about the journey.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy when you hear people say that quote. It's all about the journey, not the destination. There isn't a destination. You never really get there. Because as humans, we thrive off progression. Progression is what equals happiness. So if you're unhappy in your life right now, maybe take a look at why. It's probably because you're not progressing in areas of your life, whether that's at home, in the workplace. If you're stagnant, that is the number one thing that'll make you unhappy, because as human beings, like, we need to progress. It is like innate, and it's something we need. And so my point is just like, even with the challenges, like, embrace them and remember that every problem has a solution. So
love it. How do people find the magazine?
Okay, so go to hermag.co, so that's HERMAG.co, or you can just type in Her Magazine in Google and we'll pop right up because we have great SEO.
You know what? We lost signal here a minute ago. I'm not sure where we...
You're fine.
I'm not sure where we went down, so
hold
on a
make
second.
It work.
Yeah.
You'll make it work, whatever it is. But you can include that in your outro, right? I'll email you all the info. But for people on Facebook, it's...
I don't even think they can hear us at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me throw in. I'm not sure. sure what happened with these batteries.
Even though this is on, they can't hear us?
Well,
'Cause
they
it's
may be
connected?
able to. Yeah. Okay, let me pop this in. Give us just a minute, folks. Just a minute. We'll tie this up.
Wow, it's 11:42.
How are you doing for time?
I gotta wrap it up soon.
Me too.
Okay, cool.
Yep, I have another engagement I have to get to.
Yeah. The emails are pouring in.
Oh yes. So I think I'm going to re-ask a question.
Okay.
Let's just kind of give a. I don't think we lost it that long ago. I think. Let's see. Just 1 second, Facebook.
Amal, while you're doing that, I will just check my email.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Next up.
Okay, you know what? We only lost a few seconds.
Okay, all right, then
So
we're good.
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to jump back into. Okay, so once we're running there, let's let this. So let's start. Come on, recorder. Let's do this.
Waiting on technology.
Really? What are we waiting for? Okay, there we are. Now we're rolling again. Okay, so anyway, Nineveh, we're going to wrap it up here. We'll jump on. We'll see if there are any questions we need to ask. But before we get into Q&A, that'll be some bonus content.
Okay.
So I really appreciate your time and coming on and sharing your experiences with us, with everybody on here. I know the men. I mean, we're talking about ladies' issues a lot, but I think us fellas can benefit just as much from hearing you talk about it.
Thanks.
So we need to. We're part of the deal.
Yeah.
So, as far as Her Magazine is concerned, tell us what's new and exciting coming up that people can look for and where they find it.
Okay, so you can find Her Magazine at hermag.co, so it's hermag.co, or just type in Her Magazine into Google and we'll pop right up. And you can find us on Facebook, so just type in Her Magazine, we'll pop up, and same with Instagram, it's hermagazine.co on Instagram. And new and exciting things happening for Her Magazine. So we have an upcoming cover with a woman out of LA. So we're looking at doing a big launch party in LA in April potentially. So we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers.
Can you say who it is?
I'll keep you posted. Not yet.
All right.
But she's a celebrity who's teamed up in business with Gary Vee. Do you know who Gary Vee is?
Love Gary Vee.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
And then we also have, I'll release this name, Mel Robbins, coming up on our cover. She's one of the most sought out female speakers in the world. She wrote about the 5-second rule and has a really popular TED Talks about how not to screw yourself over. So if you haven't watched that, definitely look into that. So yeah, really exciting things right now. We're just focused on growth and getting out really good content. And I have a really big vision for Her Magazine. Ask you about the name that popped up on that, but
T-Mobile does it for me. It's weird.
so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, so as I was saying, I'm just really patient with this. This is a labor of love, and I'm looking long term with this thing. So we haven't exploded quite yet, but we will. We'll get there.
For sure.
I have confidence that we will, with time, consistency, and just making those connections. It's all about just featuring awesome women and producing really good content, and then worrying about where the money comes from later.
So hermag.co.
Mm-hmm.
Any other places they should connect?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram under Nineveh Madsen.
Mm-hmm.
You can add me on Facebook, even my personal Facebook.
Cool.
I'm cool with that.
I'll include links to all these things in the show notes when the podcast comes out. So if you're listening to this and you haven't checked the show notes, go do so at paulduane.net, and or there should be a link. If you're in iTunes, there's a link right there that will take you to the show page. Just click that and you'll be able to pull up all the extra goodies. So And so Nineveh, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's jump on and see if there's any Q&A. I'm going to pull this off of the holder so we can see it a little more closely. Okay. Let's see. Oh, where are you in here?
Oh,
There.
well, I think you've
Oh, I've got the
camera
other way around.
flipped.
Okay, I do. That's weird. How do I flip it?
I don't know.
Actually, we'll just do it like this. How about this? Okay,
All
no
right,
pressure.
cool.
I'm not in the frame on this one. Okay,
That's
so
okay, I'm used to
I'm
it.
just scrolling through the comments to see if there are any other. Let's see. John says it's amazing to ask the people around us for their experiences with issues like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get people talking. I was talking to a friend that does work internationally with helping cultures move through weird issues, and he was talking about just the power of conversation.
Right.
Like when people find out that they're not the only one having a problem, it creates energy around it and change
Yeah.
can come. So
conversation is really important.
yes. John Paul Kirkman says, I wear glasses to look smarter.
See, then it's not only women.
John,
It's
no
men
way.
too.
To look smarter. Come on, John.
Yeah, it does make you look smarter.
Yeah, he's one
I've
of the-
done it before,
He's one of
too.
the smartest people I know.
Okay.
Like, you don't need any help, dude.
Oh,
Come
so
on.
is he
Yeah.
joking? Hey, maybe
Maybe.
men do these things too.
Oh,
though.
we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
we have our own issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
guys do.
Let's see. Allison McCrogan says hi to two wonderful people.
Oh,
Hi,
hey,
Allison.
Allison, what's up?
Hey.
I'll be seeing you at my baby shower next week.
Nice.
She's sweet.
Yeah, she's adorable. And so she's a fun host. We had a great Halloween party over at her
Oh,
place.
yeah.
They had like real alligators.
I know. I was there last year. I didn't go this year.
It was
'cause
fun.
It was like gonna be
Yeah.
a total boring pregnant woman at her party.
Yeah, she's great. Cool friends too. Let's see. I think your friends say so much about you.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
like-
true.
And I always notice that, like, when I meet somebody new, I realize who they're around. And
Yeah.
so, let's see. Nice mug. Steve Conlon says, I'm not sure. Oh, he's probably talking about mine because it has 5 Lives vodka on it.
Oh, yeah, that's not
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
No vodka for me right now.
No. Let's see. Rebecca, it is really refreshing to see someone attempt to have balance and have compassion to women and men. Respect.
Thank you.
We've got does Nineveh still work at the local news, or is she up to something else now? Yeah, that's what this is all about.
Clearly, nobody watches the news. That is my point. That is my point. Clearly,
Yeah.
nobody watches the news because 3 years later, I've literally been out of TV for almost 3 years, I want to say. And people are still like, hey, I love watching you in the mornings. I'm like, wow, that's some brand power right there. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So I take it as a compliment, but
You
no.
made an impression.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Charlene asks, I may have, let's see, have you personally experienced a wage gap?
That is such a tough one to answer because, like, the angry woman in me says yes. Does that make sense when I say angry? I mean, okay, I'll put it this way. In television news, hard to know because we signed contracts. We were never allowed to talk about our salaries, per se.
Like with other coworkers?
Exactly.
I see.
So I wouldn't know what the men around me were making, but I was certain that they were making more than me. But they're also there longer than me, some of the men, okay? That's one factor. However, I did find out a guy across the street, meaning at another TV station, who had way less experience than me, had not been working in the market long at all, was literally making $60,000 a year more than me. And it pissed me off, and I certainly approached my bosses about it. And they're like, well, they're the so-and-so station. Maybe they have a bigger budget. And I'm going, no, I think I'm being screwed. So I came to the conclusion that I was making a great salary in terms of like what most people would feel like, oh, that's good pay. But if I look at the more than 10 years that I spent in that industry and working myself up, like I never hit that goal that I should have hit, which was 6 figures. Okay. That was really my goal. Is like, I want to hit 100K in my career. Like, I deserve that. Shit, if you've been working in an industry for 10 years, and especially in television, that should not be difficult to hit. Why didn't I hit that? Negotiating contracts were really difficult. I was told one time, like, if you don't want to sign this, we'll just find a cheaper Nineveh Dinhah. And so, I mean, I don't know what that means. Is there a wage gap? Is it more difficult for women to negotiate higher salaries than it is for men? Are we going into this saying, ooh, I'm going to pay this woman less than men? I don't think that's necessarily happening. It probably is, but not on a big level like we think it is.
Right.
But I'll say this, what I've experienced as an entrepreneur when I am talking to male contractors versus female contractors and hiring contractors in business, women are great to work with. But y'all, we are literally asking for 50% less or more than men are.
So just the negotiation is
So we
being
need to
set up
have
poorly.
better mentors.
Right.
We need to know how to negotiate. We need to know how to articulate our strengths.
Yeah.
And another thing is like not sharing too much personal information about your life. Like, oh, do I think that, hey, as a business owner, it would be really tough to have women in the workplace all of a sudden get pregnant. Now they've got to go on leave. Like, men don't have to do these things, really, right? But there has to be equality in that arena where men have to start taking paternity leave so that there's a balance there.
Oh, okay,
There isn't a balance. It's like all on women. So, of course, we're being paid less because, maybe employers are looking at us as more of a liability than men.
So if men started demanding paternity leave, that would do a lot to improve the situation of women.
Well, they should want to take paternity leave.
I'm
for
so
God's
into that.
sakes. I mean, are you
Seriously.
kidding me?
Those first few weeks of a
My
baby's
husband's
life.
taking 30 days
That's
at
awesome.
least. Yeah, but he's a business owner. He can do
Yeah.
that, right? He still has to manage the business and run things, but he can be home. But what if we were in like a 9-to-5 situation? Very different.
All right,
First of all,
fellas. We got to demand this stuff.
you do?
Yeah.
Well, because that's what's going to help
Yeah.
create more equality in
That's
the
cool.
workplace. Think about it.
I never thought of it quite like that.
Well, think
Like-
about the challenges that women face. So
Yeah.
we're the ones getting pregnant. That
Yeah.
does slow us down.
Right.
Okay. I mean, yes, you can still work effectively, but like some women experience really bad morning sickness. Okay. Debilitating. In fact, I remember working in TV and one of the anchors literally had debilitating morning sickness and she would have to go to the hospital and she would call in sick often because of it. Like, how the hell do you go to work like that? You can't. But I remember they're kind of feeling this judgment around that. I even judged it because I'd never experienced it before, you see? And we're like, oh, there she goes again. She is pregnant. It wasn't just men making this judgment. It was women too. So we do it as well, so we're part of the problem. Okay. We can't just blame it all on the guys. But how do you quantify or say notoriously women are paid less in TV? And that's also notorious across all industries. But is it because the question is why? Is it done on purpose or is it because we are different than men? We take time away from the workforce. So there are women that literally are career oriented and then they exit out of the workforce to have kids and then they re-enter the workforce 5, maybe 10 years later. Now you cannot expect to be paid the same as a male who has stayed in the game. Or even a woman who stayed in the game. So now you're going to compete against that too, though. It's not going to just be men, but there are women that are staying in the game, like in the career.
Right.
And they're going to be paid much higher than you, someone who's taken time out of the workforce. So you have to understand, like, where are we causing it? And then what are the external forces that are causing it? So there's a mix of that happening. It's not like one or the other.
Gotcha.
It just can't be black and white in a conversation like this. And anyway, we could talk about policy, but
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's tough.
I think we've got...
But hell yes, I was paid less.
Charlotte's saying, the data can be skewed. I don't think it's real.
Yeah, I mean, I think
there are
we
a
have
lot
to
of
look.
factors.
We have to look beyond data, right? Data gives us a starting point, but we have to ask what that data means.
Right. Great. All right. I think we've had a good conversation. We've both got appointments to get to. Facebook, you've been delightful. Thanks for joining us. All right. Thanks.
Okay, bye.